So, Greene, Republicans intellectual Marjorie Taylor Greene, has accidentally said she wanted to arrest Trump. Yes, her ramblings go on so long and she has no idea what she's saying, but she always gets to the end where she says something really dumb. Take a look at this.
Congresswoman, you have been one of the champions of trying to reduce spending in government, trying to get this crazy budget down, get inflation down. Joe Biden just gave one of the great giveaways in American history before an election: $10,000 to $20,000 off from anyone who's got a student loan. Your thoughts on that student loan cancellation? Is it even legal? Is there any legal authority to even do this?
Okay, let's talk about legal authority. Republicans have put forward multiple bills to strip Biden of the legal authority to forgive student loan debt. Now, Republicans seem to say he has it, and yet she's still allowed to go on Republican news to lie about it because they actually think their voters are just that stupid. Even though Marjorie Taylor Greene was forgiven $183,000 in PPP loan, and they had the legal authority to forgive that too. Then sue. Because Republicans are actually trying to figure out some way to sue the Biden administration to undo this law. We know that the Supreme Court, the Republican whack jobs that they have, that the media completely ignores all the time, will be willing to entertain any Republican delusion if they can harm Democrats. We know that Republicans on the court that Twitler has put in will gladly block the Biden administration of doing anything whatsoever, no matter how dumb it is. Reduce spending. This is the same thing that they attack Democrats about all the time. They repeat the same line no matter what. Let's continue on.
No, absolutely not. I do not believe there's legal authority to just cancel student loan debt. But you pointed to the obvious, John, and that's we have elections coming in November, and the Democrats are in big, big trouble for what they've done to this country because voters are not excited to reelect Democrats with high inflation, outrageous crime rates, and a wide open border and gas prices no one can afford.
They talk about inflation. But what is inflation? Corporations price gouging and their inability to regulate their own supply chain. Because the federal government, figure this, is not involved in private business. So the inflation that she is complaining about, it's very specifically corporations not being regulated enough. How about crime? Here's where she says Trump should go into prison. Yeah, she doesn't actually mean that. She doesn't mean anything that she says because she honestly can't. Wide open borders. You see, the thing is, when Republicans repeat wide open borders, they create the exact thing that they say they don't want. There's no such thing as wide open borders, and then there has been. And the fact that the media allows Republicans to say this lie on national television over and over again is because they're putting the thumb on the scale. Now, what would happen if there was actually open borders? Millions of people every day would travel to the United States. But there's not. What do they mean open borders? Not enough support? Not enough what? See, that's the thing. Gas prices on the way down, and the fact that, once again, corporation price gougings, nothing else. Let's continue on with their delusional ramble.
But the real truth is I believe that the student loan, the ability for 17 and 18-year-olds to take out a student loan to begin with, where they can borrow hundreds of thousands of dollars to go to college, maybe go to an Ivy League school, is the problem to begin with. You see, it should be difficult to take out loans with that much money. There should be a guarantee that they're able to pay it back, but it puts young people in a very bad situation to begin with. But then, in all reality, who are the people, most of these people, not all of them, but most of them, they're basically Democrat voters. I mean, look at how many of them have women's studies college degrees, sociology degrees, and how many of them are part of this whole gender confusion movement, or part of the movement that is the radical left that pursues the most absurd policies, woke policies that are just cursing our nation in every single way.
So here we get into, you're not allowed to go to college unless you're rich. Trot out that you just got the wrong degree. It's not that our fault that you got the wrong degree in college. You just weren't smart enough to get the right one. The one that, could actually pay off this debt. But the fact is, corporations have completely dropped the ball on creating actual good jobs in the United States. Let's take a look back at The Simpsons. When The Simpsons started, that was a home that you could afford in 1989 on the salary of someone that didn't go to college. In the beginning, the opening scene, when they ring Maggie up, look at that price. That is the price to raise a child every single day, every single month. Because that is the price that the economist that wrote on The Simpsons looked up and put it in as a joke to himself. The fact that, 30 years ago, a single dad could provide that house for his wife and his kids, that was not unreasonable. And then again, she did take out $183,000 in PPP loans that were forgiven. Let's continue on.
It's not fair to the hardworking Americans that never took out a loan, hardworking Americans that don't have debt, that pay off their bills, hardworking Americans that pay their taxes with no problem. Why do they have to pay for someone else's student loan debt?
Why do everyone have to pay? Because Democrats have been supporting Republican stupidity for generations. There's a reason why Republican states are welfare queens, leeches on America. They're the bleeding, festering wound of America's economy. Democrats are those that pay for this country, and not every policy in the United States has to help every single person. Some people need help in different ways. So first-time homeowners are being subsidized by those students. Those that don't buy a house for the first time. Yes, every policy does not have to help every single one. Policies have to be good. That's it. To allow Republicans to make this stupid comment and continue on like anything they say after this should be treated like it's reasonable, it's not the case. Let's watch more of this moron.
You see, when we become a country where there's no consequences and people aren't held responsible for the actions and the decisions they make, then we become a country of complete lawlessness.
Wow. Marjorie Taylor Greene wants Trump arrested. Gotta hold people accountable. See, the problem with the media is they give Republicans a pass every single time. A little bit more of this.
And that's what the Democrat Party wants. They want us to be a country of lawlessness, and that's why they're the defund the police party. That's why they're the party where you don't have to pay back loans. That's why they're the party that is just ripping our country apart. And Joe Biden is wrong. He can't break the law and just forgive everyone's student loan debt. It just doesn't work that way.
Now, why would Democrats want lawlessness? You know, blue states have a fraction of crime that red states do. Red states have 40% more violent crime, 30% more property crime, because Republicans complain, but they never work to solve the problem. But isn't Marjorie Taylor Greene the one that wanted to defund the FBI? Let's go back to sue him and have the court stop him, because they're desperately trying to find anyone withstanding. Because, hell, you know, these Republicans on the courts do not care about the United States nor its Constitution, and they're just political hacks. But this one might actually be a little too difficult for them, even them, to stop. So they're going to start off here with Russian propaganda. We never promised anything about NATO. Nothing that he is going to bring up is even remotely true, but we hear it from mainstream news organizations all the time.
Yeah, the problem that critics would say to that, sir, is that Vladimir Putin, as early as 2005, was saying, do not put NATO countries on our border. When the Warsaw Pact countries dissolved their alliance in 1991 and 92, we told Russia we wouldn't put NATO countries on their border, and then we did it. Lithuania, Latvia, we did it, and we're doing it again. I mean, is that not a provocation to Russia? Do they not have a right to say, wait a second, you promised us 20 years ago you would never do this, and you're doing it anyway, in spades?
I've heard of...
Now, critics would say he is pretending that he is saying it himself, pretending that he is just a arbiter of what people are saying, and he has nothing to do with this whatsoever, but he is pushing his thumb down on the scale because he has a point. He has something that he wants everyone to believe, and he's going to do whatever it takes to get you there. I'll reiterate, this is Russian propaganda. There was never a treaty that said this. Boris Yeltsin wrote in September 1993, letter to then U.S. President Bill Clinton, any possible integration of East European countries into NATO will not automatically lead to the alliance somehow turning against Russia. 1993. Why isn't he saying America promised not to move NATO's border closer to Russia? The president that was the one that was supposed to sign this treaty? Or where else is this promise that NATO wouldn't move eastward come from? That's kind of a head scratcher, isn't it? This is the strong party that doesn't care about treaties. They blatantly ignore treaties whenever they feel like it. And so now they want to pretend that there's a treaty in place, that it's America's fault for Russia invading Ukraine. Let's go on.
I've heard about that ostensible promise, and Jim Baker wrote about it in his book. But it may imply that it's a little vaguer than what some of the people have said it was, a really firm commitment. But there's no doubt that Putin has an argument that the West has come towards him, and now, he's coming towards the West. But I still don't think that justifies him basically taking over Crimea or taking over the rest of the Ukraine.
Now, here is where he's going to backtrack and lie. Claiming something is a provocation is suggesting that they were justified in an attack. He is saying that because Russia didn't get his way, Russia is justified in their attack. Okay, let's continue.
Well, no.
No one's made any
I'm not
overt
suggesting
move
that,
against
but the
them.
fact of the matter is, and hold on, because I'll say this: I don't think that Ukraine is some innocent bystander in all of this. Ukraine is one of the most corrupt countries in the world, always has been. It's the money laundering capital of the world, for God's sake. Why do you think the Bidens went there? It's an easy place to launder money.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a fact.
You're right. There are no saints. There are no saints, and that's why we held up the Javelin missiles for a couple of years, because they were so corrupt.
Now, this is complete revisionist history. They held up the Javelin missiles because they wouldn't lie about Biden. They wanted Ukraine to step into the presidential race to give the presidency to Trump. And they continue to tell this lie because it is self-serving, because he was involved in the criminal behavior as well. He isn't saying that they are justified in attack, but they are corrupt. So, since they are corrupt, we can't really feel bad for them. I mean, they kind of had it coming because they were corrupt. Ukraine has been getting rid of corruption. That is why Putin doesn't like them. He had a corrupt leader in that was completely subservient to him. And now that he doesn't, he's upset that he lost his vassal state. And so he attacked them. Another, he laundered money so they deserved it. The blatant lies and just sycophanting, licking Putin's boots. This is from the strong party, the ones that are true American strength and true real men, not betas.
I mean, they're the only country that makes Bulgaria look clean.
Exactly. They make Bulgaria blush. You got that right, Ambassador. And yet we're shoveling $60 billion. $60 billion to that place. We can't secure our own southern border, but we're shoveling $60 billion to Ukraine.
We can secure our border. We just don't want to.
Well, that's fair.
Border attacks. What a surprise. It seems both Trump and Bush both obviously didn't want to secure the border because they were both in charge with majorities in both houses. So why didn't they do it? Logic will never work on Republicans, but you need to know what delusional conspiracies they are propagating in their media, or you can never break through to anyone because they believe this stuff hook, line, and sinker. Pity them. The reality is Republicans are the reason for the browning of America. Republicans have refused immigration reform, which would have stopped people coming into the United States. It would have stopped them. We could have easily had a guest worker program that would have eliminated their children from becoming American citizens. But Republicans refused anything. They put nothing forward. And so, when Reagan closed off the border, they came here and stayed. And they had children. And those children, by the Constitution, became U.S. citizens. So the only reason whatsoever that whites are going to become a minority is because of Republicans' stupidity. Full stop. Let's continue.
Sure. But here's the other problem with the $60 billion, Mr. Ambassador, and I think a lot of people would agree with this. Most Americans, if you spun the globe, they couldn't point to Ukraine if they tried. They couldn't find it on a map if they tried. And yet here we are, taking American taxpayer monies and shoveling it all over there. And that part, I think, really rubs a lot of people the wrong way.
Here's a great one. America should only do the right thing if Americans can point to where it is on a map. Yes. If Americans don't know where a country is, it doesn't matter how right we are in helping someone defend themselves from genocide. Yeah, genocide should only stop where America cares about it, and most Americans can point to where it is on a map. But the reality is the majority of Americans supported sending weapons to Ukraine. And the only reason why any polls might be changing at this time is because Republicans run propaganda like this all the time, demanding that their sycophantic cult starts to change their mind, telling them once again, if you're not with us, you don't belong. So Republicans are running scared of abortion because they put it on the ballot in an off-year election and still lost. So Republican candidates are now blatantly lying about what position they held. Blake Masters, losing his Senate race, has gone to revamping his website and removing all his anti-choice wording, pretending that he never was actually all that anti-abortion. Don't trust Republicans. They lie for power, and then, they continue to do exactly what Democrats say when they get it. So when Democrats said Republicans, the Supreme Court justices, were lying to get the job so they can overturn Roe, it was 100% the case. And the fact that the media ignored it and allowed it to happen is because the media supports Republicans. Now, Blake Masters, he has gone from a federal personhood bill, a federal personhood law that recognizes that unborn babies are human beings that may not be killed. I am 100% pro-life, Masters had and said. A law or a constitutional amendment that bans late-term abortions and partial abortions at the federal level, and pro-life legislation, pregnancy centers, and programs that make it easier for pregnant women to support a family and decide to choose life. So Blake Masters went from no woman should have an abortion whatsoever, and what he said to the reporters about personhood law, Masters said he believed a federal personhood law would work to ban all abortions in the third trimester. This is a lie he's now peddling to news organizations, and they're allowing him to do this. He is pretending like he didn't understand that a personhood amendment, a law, would ban all abortions because Republicans think you're this stupid and the media is that stupid. Arizona's ban on abortion after 15 weeks, exceptions only for the life of the mother, is reasonable. That's what Masters believed. That's what Masters advocated. But now that he sees, oh wait, America doesn't want this, I will lie and tell him, I'm not like other Republicans. All this lying Masters is doing probably won't win him the election, as Mark Kelly is ahead in every poll. Take a look at them. It is a 5-point Masters in every single poll. That is basically the minimum. It might be bigger, for the polls in New York has heavily trended Republican, and when the vote came, it swung massively back in the Democrats' favor. So the pollers might not have a accurate understanding of what's going to happen when America's finally woken up to the fact that Republicans do want to ban all abortions, and their, cases of rape and incest nonsense, we are still going to have abortions for those. Don't you worry. That has gone away because Republicans are blatantly saying what they want to do. They want to ban contraception. Because, in all honesty, they never cared about the life of the child. What Republicans care about is their own children. They care and want to make it harder for people to have free love because Republicans are just anti-hippie. They don't care about raising kids that are not their own. And the worse everybody else's life gets, the happier they feel. So a new study out just shows how stupid the racists truly are. Or the fact that, they're not even completely human. New study published by Biology Studies shows the interbreeding of Neanderthals and modern humans. So over the last 100,000 years, humans have interbred with other lineages. So we're not completely human anymore. In the studying the faces, they have narrowed it down to where it happened. Take a look at this map. Anyone that has left Africa isn't completely human. This study suggests that most interbreeding was as humans just were leaving the continent. The interbreeding continued in Europe as humans and Neanderthals coexisted for hundreds of years. So racists are willfully ignorant of reality, of the constant and continual sex between subspecies of humans, the humanoids, not to mention the constant inbreeding and intermarrying in Rome. The reality is the invention of race happened in 1450 when a Portuguese writer working for the king who started the slave trade made up the fact that Africans were subhuman. So selling them as property wasn't so bad. So the reality is science has repeatedly shown that there is no such thing as race, and as science has shown us here, there's no pure human in the white people. But what Republicans and racists are really complaining about is aesthetics. They don't like how black people look. So obviously they should be punished. Let's stop making excuses for these people. It's aesthetics. There's no such thing as race. Pretending there is a such thing as race only supports the racists. The reality is, they're not human and should be treated as such. Alex Jones' legal defense. Complete and total disaster. As you remember the look on Alex Jones' face, right here, when he learned that his lawyers have given over his entire cell phone with all the evidence that he lied repeatedly and lied to the court during his divorce, committing perjury over and over again. So, his lawyers went into the disciplinary hearing where he pleaded the fifth 25 times. The phone that proved that Alex Jones lied under oath, lied to the court in his divorce, had highly confidential records that he most definitely shouldn't have had. He has lots of money, which he lied to the court about. That lawyer had to plead the fifth 25 times. It wasn't just the phone, because that was the highlight of that lawyer's epic failure. He also was breaking court rules left and right, and just kept pretending that he was too stupid and inexperienced to truly understand. Now, there is a reason why we consider lawyers corrupt, unethical people. It's because the bar does not actually get rid of the corrupt and horrible lawyers. There are a bunch of lawyers protecting themselves, allowing corrupt lawyers to continue to rip off clients and fail people. Because the rich get good lawyers and the rest of us get the drudges of society. We need to remember that and pray that this lawyer, this horrible lawyer, who turned over Alex Jones' cell phone to prove that his client has committed multiple felonies, that he is at least disbarred and never gets to practice law again. But honestly, trust me, that might be a little too much to hope for. So if you like those videos, please help. The YouTube algorithm is horribly biased against, progressives. And the Republicans have massive amounts of money just to buy it off. So every time you like, every time you put a comment down below, helps us out. So like, subscribe, and if you really want to help the environment, down below is a link to a GoFundMe page where it has a brand new power generation that is 0% carbon emission and one of the cheapest productions of electricity the world has ever had. So go down, help us out.